Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, welcome to the program. We got a good one for you. I want to timestamp this for the specific reason where we broadcast from, where we record Party Time, My Golf Story from in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. We are on the eve of a massive hurricane, Hurricane Milton. So if this is the last recording that we have for a while, you'll know why. Wish us the best. A lot of my neighbors are big fans of Party Time, My Golf Story. But it's Monday, October 7th, and the storm is supposed to hit on Tuesday, October 8th. Big thanks to our title sponsor, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, and if you're tired of beer, if you're tired of seltzers or whatever it is you're indulging in, try a Party. I think you'll love it. I know you'll love it, especially Transfusion, which is our number one bestseller. It's got the strength and the smoothness that you're looking for golfers, by golfers. Look the part, taste the part, and it makes all the difference. And if your dream is to live in Southwest Florida in a golf resort, or similar or golf course community, nobody better than the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com. And they'd be happy to take your call and your information. Their information is scrolling across the bottom. A little bit about our guest. His name is Dave Raymond. If you don't recognize the face, you may recognize some of the faces that he has created. He is one of the most interesting people I've ever known, and golf is an important part of his life. But I knew him in a different context before I knew him as a golfer, and you've probably come across his work, especially if you live in the Philadelphia area, especially if you like green furry monsters, especially if you like orange gritty characters that are on the ice in Philadelphia, and some 130 plus character mascots for different professional teams. Davis had a hand in creating that because he created a company that created the entertainment and the training for that. So I guess that's as good of a preamble as I can get. Dave Raymond, my buddy, my Philadelphia guy, the original Phillie Phanatic. What's going on, man? How are you?
That's right. You said it. You beat me to the punch. You're a Philly guy. We're not, you don't go down to Florida and just change. You are a Philly guy. And it's great to see you again. I know we bumped in each other, over the years, but I remember you fondly. You are really wonderful at doing this. I love this platform. And thanks for including me.
You're such a good sport. Well, let me just tell the story, and I hope you remember this. You were one of our golfers when I worked for the old CNA, the Comcast network, and we had this CNA Golf Challenge. And in theory, the way it was all supposed to go down was the best golfers from Boston, the best golfers from Washington, the best golfers from Philadelphia area. And so we were trying to blend all the Northeast in. And I don't know that we got the best golfers, but we took who we could get. And I was so glad we got you because you were so damn funny on the first tee at Laurel Valley, Laurel Springs, Laurel Creek. Yeah, my bad, in South Jersey. And I was trying to tee you up, and man, you just hit it out of the park. I'm like, Dave, are we gonna have any like fanatical stuff, or is this gonna be serious golf? And you used the term. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, this is one of the best experiences of my whole life, and I've been blessed to be in front of a big gallery when I was one of Fred Couples' playing partners, Steve Elkington. I got to do that at the Tylenol Classic up here in Philly, but there was never more pressure than that. It was my buddy Mark Doty and I. We came there, and I think we had to play 3 holes. And the greatest part, we were on a par 3. I can't remember it. It had to be like 190 yards, something like that. And I had the little metal rescue wood that were relatively new. And I hit the ball to about 6 feet. Of course, I missed the putt, but it was like, I'll never forget that. Of all the things that all the places I've been able to go and blessed to do, that competition I thought was amazing. And no, you did not get the best golfers because I was there. So maybe we, had some interesting personalities at play, but I really appreciate it. That was a blast.
Well, I got the best interview out of it all because you're used to being on TV. You're a natural performer. We'll get into the performing of being the original Phillie Phanatic. But I asked you, are we going to get into fanatical stuff? Are you going to be doing like weird stuff like belly bumps and everything? You're like, no, we're not going to do. There are going to be no ass wiggles. And then, I barely recovered from that. There will be no ass wiggles. I think we may have put that on the air. And if you remember, that was right around the time of the Super Bowl thing with Janet Jackson and oh my gosh.
Yeah, we didn't want to get arrested. I didn't want to ruin your career and my career all at the same time. But I almost did it organically other times, but that who knew something like golf could derail something. But that was a good day. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate your love of golf. And we'll get into that. You mentioned Fred Couple, Steve Elkington, and but I know golf was important to you and your family, and in some cases your mental health, as it is for a lot of people. Golf for some people is therapy. For other people, it's a huge adventure. When did it all start? Take me back. Well, my dad loved golf. I mean, what people think of my father as a football coach. He was a baseball guy. He was a captain of the Michigan baseball team. He was a catcher there. And for the rest of his life, he loved baseball. And baseball and golf kind of go together because it's kind of a similar mindset that you need to have. And so we played golf. I became friends with my dad because of golf. My brother, Chris, and I, we were members of Newark Country Club, just a small golf course. It still survived today, which is great because it's in the middle of right in downtown Newark, prime real estate location. And it's still a great little place. But he taught us at a par 3 right off of Chestnut Hill Road that's still there. It's a beat up little par 3, and that's where we played. But when I was 13 in Michigan, we played our first 18 holes. And what I remember my dad telling me, because, I'm like a bright, shiny object person. I'm like, oh, look at that. And then he said, come on, let's go. Look at those guys behind us. You got to keep moving. You got to keep moving. So he taught me all about, the details of etiquette. And I thought that was the best way to teach me how to play golf, because now I'm a fast play. I move along. I try to help people in my foursome understand without pressing too much how they need to move along, and you enjoy the game better than everybody else does. But we learned so much about golf and life through Dad. Being a coach, he really knew how to inspire us and motivate us. And he was really competitive, man. He didn't understand the fact that you needed to regulate your handicap so it was higher. He would regulate his handicap so he's lower, so he could say have a lower handicap. And I said, Dad, all these sandbaggers are killing you here, because that's not really your handicap. You might be happy that you've got a single digit handicap, but if you're not playing to that, it's not helping you. So we used to joke about that all the time.
Well, let's talk about your dad, because your dad was a legend. 3 national titles, 300 wins, Hall of Fame, legendary coach at University of Delaware. The stadium is named after him. Now, I'm sure there were benefits that came with that, but I'm sure there was probably pressure and more eyeballs on you at a time that maybe you didn't need them on you.
It's true. And I had an idyllic life, from the earliest memory and until about, when I was 35. It was Leave It to Beaver. And for those of you tuning in that don't understand that, it was a 30-minute show where everything was figured out and solved in the Cleaver family. And that truly was the life that I lived. And Dad being iconic was good because he was so successful. If he didn't win as much as he did, we might not have stayed in Newark, Delaware my whole life. I mean, he was so successful. He was at Delaware for almost 50 years. So for me, I look at it as nothing but a wonderful life. When I played for him, it was a difficult transition because I had the best of him as a father, but even more of the best of him as a coach. And as I got to know him and become, change our relationship from friends, and he's always my dad and I was always his son. But when I got to know him more, I realized that, his life on this earth was meant to coach, because over the years, it continues every day, Kevin. Somebody comes up to me and says, that played for him, said, do you know what he said to me? Do you know what he did for me? Do you know how I use those things to be better? It was phenomenal to be his player, but I didn't talk to him for almost 4 years. And that wasn't by design. It just happened. He said, I'm not going to decide whether you're playing or not. You've got a position coach, and I knew I wasn't going to play wide receiver at Delaware. That was where the best athlete was in the wing tee, but I was a great kicker. And I eventually became the punter there. But the stuff that I saw him do, not only for me, but our team, when I first walked out on the field, which you can imagine was my single goal I thought about my whole life, he looked at me like he was supposed to tell me to go in and kick it. He looked at me and looked at the offensive coordinator and said, is that all we've got? Because he knew how nervous I would be. So he pissed me off, which he did. And I ran out there and caught my first snap and got a kickoff, kicked a great punt. And when I was running off the field, he goes like that to me. And I went, oh, he did it to me. I've seen,
wow.
So being able to live the life of him as my father and this iconic person in our community, but then finding out why he was such a great coach. He knew every little particular element of his players. And when he needed to poke the bear, he did. When he needed to give him a hug, he did. I like to joke and say, Rich Gannon got a hug. I got a, is that all we've got? But he was a master at that. He wasn't just a great game day manager. He was super at that too, but he didn't like the referendum of, hey, you're either a winner or a loser. He liked the fact that the playing field was a place to learn how to build your character ethic, how to go on to be better in life than you ever imagined you would be, not just a winning football team.
I'm a big believer that every young man should play football, and because it builds so much character, just like golf builds character with a lot of people, integrity, honesty, because there are a lot of things that can happen, advantages that you could take if nobody was looking, if you lacked integrity. And in football, there's so many sacrifices. Now we know there are risks too. Back when you and I played, it was more, well, I guess our biggest fear was paralysis, even though the chances of it happening were very unlikely. Now it's all the talk about CTE, but the evidence is still overwhelming that the chances of it happening to you, if you're not playing at the professional level, are quite low. But what football teaches you is leadership, sacrifice, a good time, being a man in all the most positive ways. I miss my football days. But when football was done and college was done, like a lot of us, you had to figure out, what am I going to do now? And somehow you ended up with, I know you were playing some golf at that time, and maybe in between shots, you were thinking about, what am I going to do? And then the Philadelphia Phillies came into the picture. What happened?
Yeah, it's great because my dad told me, hey, look, you're now slowly going to age out and have to be an adult member at Newark, and you're going to have to, join as a member. There'll be cost to that, but between now and then, you can play every day you want on our membership. So I was getting done with my classes. I grabbed my golf bag at Sigma Phi Epsilon, which was right at the end of Main Street, walked up and played Newark, and I was playing almost every day, loving every second of it. But it was my father also who was changing my perspective from, hey, give up your job as a lifeguard. I can help you get a job with the Phillies. I know you want to coach, but you're not going to replicate staying at the same university for almost 50 years like I have. So let me just change your perspective. It wasn't about, he said, look, you want to be a coach? Fine, I'll help you. And, I went to 1976 was the start of a 2-year internship. And I was a couple of weeks, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can have a career working for the Phillies. So it was even my coach, my dad and my coach, who suggested, hey, change your perspective will be healthy. And then that was it. After that, I was only worried about the fact that I had to go back to school for a year. And that's when the Phillies called me at my fraternity house and said, hey, if you can stay for another summer, but you got to go get fitted for the costume in New York. Like, what? I go, but then my dad had screamed at me, you do whatever they tell you to do and prove your value.
Right.
Again, great advice, right? So I went and, walked into Geppetto's puppet studio, met some of the Muppet people because Bill Giles, who was the brainchild behind it, believed in fun. And he said, listen, we got to do this right. So he gets Jim Henson on the phone. And I was there realizing, wait, this is pretty serious if I'm with these people. And they showed me the design drawing. And all I could think of when I was taking the train back was, I'm going to get paid to be a Muppet. and that, and that.
Well, wait a minute. Stop there. Is that a good feeling, or is that like, I'm going to be made fun of unmercifully by my brothers at my fraternity house?
Well, that's true. But I guess most everybody that thought this was a bad idea was telling me that I was going to suffer from, unmercifully from the Phillies fans. But I was one of them. So I Kevin, you might be familiar with this. When I was a little kid, I was in Franklin Field and I saw them pelt Santa with snowballs, and Santa had a.
Oh, wait a minute! Whoa! Stop! So you're one of the actual witnesses, because millions claim they were there and they weren't there.
I was there because I was with my brothers and some of his friends for the game, and he was awful. I mean, he was skinny. His costume was dirty. He deserved to get hit with snowballs because
yes, that's what the outsiders don't know that we know. He deserved it.
Yeah, exactly. You show up to do a job and you do it poorly, we're going to let you know. And I felt that spirit that was in me, Kevin, would help me do whatever it was I was supposed to do. What I didn't realize was there was no direction on any level. Bill was just glad I said yes. They had the right people building the costume. I didn't try on that costume until the morning of April 25th, which was the game against the Cubs that the Phanatic made his debut. No one was talking about it. They were telling me just to go show up. And I went to Bill and asked for advice. He said, look, just make sure you're having fun. And I went, brilliant. I'm a college student. I'm a professional idiot. I went running out of his office and he screamed, G-rated fun. So he gave me the great direction that I really believe that, this is 48 years of the Phanatic, not just being wacky and silly, but, really, unifying the city of Philadelphia, millions and millions of people making them feel better just by showing up. I was at the Phillies game last night with my family, and the Phanatic was there trying to calm us down when it really looked like things were not going to turn out very well. And he was the comic relief to some of our stress. And then sure enough, the Phillies come up and have an amazing, probably the best NLDS series ever, even though it hasn't been around a long while. I think they'll be talking about this game for a while, but this is what golf does for us. It distracts us with this competitive fun. It gets us together with people we might not know, and we get to know them really well under that, the level of that competition and the great skill it takes to play golf at any level, but then the handicaps that give you a chance to compete against anybody. This is exactly what part of the embodiment of the Phanatic was to distract with this entertainment. And I think golf does that. And I think any form of competition does, but golf is a life sport. We can't bang into each other and tackle each other much longer than high school for most of us, college if we're lucky enough, and then the pros are a whole nother level. So, and that's what I love about the topic and what we're talking about is that it is such an important part of living the good life is to have something that can distract you when things are really bad.
Yeah, and something to look forward to, something that you can play for life, and the carpet isn't going to be pulled out from under you. Dave Raymond is our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Party. And if your dream is to live in golf paradise, the Sarasota area, or in a golf resort community, then Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com are your guests. Dave, how is your game right now? I mean, how much you're playing and what's your handicap?
Yeah, I was afraid you were going to ask me that. Well, my handicap.
Well, of course I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, my handicap hovers from a 9, to somewhere around 11, depending on. I don't play I'm not a member right now. I've moved into South Jersey in the last year and a half to. I'm in the 55 up community. I'm not retired yet, but I've got all the platform for it. My wife's parents are close by. They're in their 80s. They're doing great. But it was, both my parents are gone. My brother and sister are right over the bridge. And so coming here to South Jersey has been great. So I do play at Laurel Creek. I have a couple of friends that are members there. Town and Country is a really nice municipal course. There's a couple of others. So I'm kind of looking for a course. But I got a new driver. Worst thing I've ever done. I've had this driver that I hit really well, but I felt like, if I could just get 5 more yards. Well, now I'm shooting that thing all over the place. So I'm moving more towards an 11 than a 9. But it is when I get on the golf course, everything goes away. And sometimes I love going and playing 9 holes all by myself. just because it's almost like meditation. It's a flow state. You forget about everything else but what you're doing on that course. And then I play in tons of the scrambles. My dad's fund, the Dave Raymond Fund. We have an event called the Tub Club every September. Just got done. Looks like we're going to raise over $50,000 for at-risk kids in Delaware. So I'm playing more of the scrambles than I am my own ball. So sometimes that fools you to make you think that you got the game figured out until you go and play your own ball.
Tell me, did you parlay being the Phillie Phanatic into a lot of free golf? Be honest.
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding? Yeah. I mean, that's how I got to play with couples. And
that was your admission ticket, right?
Yeah. I mean, because it was Tylenol's Classic. They wanted extra fun. They said, can you get the Phanatic here? What will it cost? I went to the Phillies and I said, hey, I'd really love to play in their Pro-Am. Philly said, it's fine. Go ahead. It's a good place for us to be. And I'm forgetting the name of the course, but it's where the women played the McDonald's Classic in its early
White
years.
Manor.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. It was White Manor, but then it went to another one on Route 3. And I'm trying to, because that's where I played with couples. I played with Elkington at White Manor. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It was just, I would go do the pairing party or some event leading up to the day. And I got to play. And it just so happened at the pairing party, Fred was probably the only, real headline golfer of the day. He went on to win the Masters that next year. And I have stayed in touch with him a little bit. I used to take credit for his Masters when I said, you came around here, we relaxed you. You were all good. But it was just a phenomenal experience getting to know him a little bit. And we had a good playing group. I don't know where we finished, but we didn't finish in the top 3. But boy, oh boy, what an amazing human being he was for us. He made us all feel good, took the time, and he just, boy, oh boy, he could just hit the ball so well. And it never looked like he was really paying attention. It just was like he was just naturally going about it. And that is one of the biggest highlights. I got to sit on the bench of the 1980 World Series, and I sat on the bench for the National League Division Championship Series in Houston, which is considered one of the best of all time. And those are just a step down from playing golf with Fred Couples.
Isn't that amazing how just being with somebody can just, when it's somebody that you admire and they're really good at something and it's something you can play, maybe not as well as them. Like we knew we couldn't play Major League Baseball. So it was like, okay, we're just kind of watching from a distance, but it's a little bit different with golf because we're kind of vicariously living through them. Are we not?
Yes. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I think the best thing I've learned about my swing is to watch the LPGA. Although today there's a ton of power in the LPGA. That's not saying that the women can't hit the ball a long ways, but I've always felt like when I was watching them play, there was less energy in their swing and more production from it. And over the years, I've had a chance to meet a lot of them, play in some of those Pro-Ams. And I still think they, as a group to watch for duffers like some of us is to see more of the elements of being relaxed and not trying to grip the club too hard, that just they have such a wonderful rhythm to their swing that some of the men just don't, because they're able to overpower the ball. And you see some of the greats in golf today are like that. But if we try to replicate that, I think that gets us in more trouble than if we just realize it's about tempo, about rhythm, and that you get much more distance out of your swing and obviously more direction and accuracy by learning how to hit with nice rhythm. And I think the older I get, I think the better I've gotten at that.
What's the best round of golf you've ever shot, Dave? Take me there.
I think it was the first time I played Pine Valley. I broke 80. It was 79.
What?
Yeah, it was 70. Because here's what happened. I had no concerns about. I just didn't want to lose my golf ball. I just wanted to hit the ball, and I was with Howdy Giles and a couple of his friends, and I was on autopilot. You've had that where everything, I was just hitting the ball and then you had caddies that when you got on the green, they said, look, see this little mark here, put it here. They kind of described how hard or how less hard you needed to hit it. And I made 2 putts I'm at 25 feet or more because I just listened to what the caddy said. So you had great direction. I played there about 6 or 7 times, and I never broke 80 again. But I generally was under 85 there. Now this is back when I haven't played Pine Valley in a long time because I'm a nobody now. So people don't invite you when you can't get the Fanatic to come to your kid's birthday party. You don't get invited to Pine Valley.
That's the power of the Fanatic. That is so cool. So did Dr. Howdy Giles, who was Arnold Palmer's dentist, who was a past guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, did you have to make a deal that you were going to come to his children's party back then? Because they would have been about
you're right.
Right?
Yes, you're right. No, what I've done with Howdy over the years is once he said, "Hey, look, the best time I had with Howdy was probably the second, maybe the third time we played." He said, "Hey, look, I got 3 spots. Why don't you come bring a couple of Phillies with you?" So it was an off day. I think we were playing on a Wednesday and the Phillies were off. Normally you're not off on a Wednesday. So it was an off day where they probably had some plans. And I went in and I went to Mike Schmidt. I said, "Hey, you want to play Pine Valley?" And his head perked up and he said, and I said, "It's tomorrow." He said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Who else should we invite?" Because he knew Howdy. So I said, "Who else should I?" He goes, "Let's invite Von Hayes because he'll shoot 127." And sure enough, he shot over 130. And I just remember, because Mike just was giggling the whole time, like Von could hit the ball a long way, but it would go way off into the Pine Barrens. And then he would think, "Well, I'll just drop a ball." And the caddy would say, No. And a few minutes later, the caddy would be in the pines going, "Mr. Hayes, it's right here. We got your ball." He dropped his shoulders and walks all the way in. Click, 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 trying to hit the ball out of the woods. And again, the golf has been, that's why I'm thrilled about the topic. I mean, there's so many of these huge, opportunities for me just to have the kind of fun that I couldn't have had anywhere else. I mean, because of Pine Valley, I was able to invite Mike Schmidt, immediately said yes. And we went and had an amazing day with Howdy. And of course, enjoying watch Vaughn swing the club a little bit too much than he expected.
Let's talk about your book, The Power of Fun. I read it. I loved it. I think you said a lot in a little, which is a gift because some people write books and they go on and on and on. But really, more than anything, you tell the backstory of the Phillie Phanatic and you tell the story of making effort to put fun in everything that you do. And I think if I can say a lot in a little, like sometimes happiness, I think people look at it as like a luck proposition, something that's going to find you or whatever. But you said you said, no, you go after it and you fight for it, change your way of thinking. Why did you write the book and how did you come up with those ideas and then write so succinctly but profoundly about them?
Yeah, I wrote the book because everybody kept telling me I had a book in me. And you said it right. The first time I wrote it, there were 400 pages. I got somebody who understood writing and said, "Help me with this." Got the 400 pages to roughly 100. And I wanted to try to explain to people what I learned about how what was embedded in the Phanatic was something that we had all inside of our hearts that we just needed to dig into. And the Phanatic was distracting with fun everywhere he went. He was a random act of kindness machine that generated gratitude both to me and people around me. And those are elements about how we can build on our own happiness is to be kind, to take yourself out of yourself for a minute, to express gratitude consistently and do things like, do normal character things like trying to get some sleep, eating right, being physically healthy. These are practices that you can attain the skill set of happiness. And that's what the book talks about, that happiness is a skill set that you attain through practice. And the practice is, what are you doing daily for yourself to boost your mood? And then people around you start to see what you're doing and they want to know what you're on. And you make people around you feel better. And the people that you love and care about the most, your family, starts to learn how to do this. And, I think we make the world a better place by all of us accepting the responsibility that our happiness is up to us. And it's really some mental work, and then it's going out and being kind and expressing, being happy for what you have. This is the science of positive psychology, but I didn't know it. It was happening. It was forced on me by this job. And when life got tough for me, the Phanatic's personality truly saved my life, because I had slipped into hopelessness with, if we live long enough, the brutality of life is going to visit you. So The book
Of
is trying
course.
to get people to see the simplicity of something that's very difficult to do, but the simplicity of starting it.
Can we get into that? What was the was the genesis of what was making you so sad and depressed? And did Phanatic play a role in creating that, but then rescuing you from that?
No, the Phanatic was a constant, right? And it became my job, and I didn't realize how powerful my job was in terms of the output. I was just working. I loved doing it, but I didn't really see the effects on people other than smiles and thank yous. But it wasn't until I left the Phillies and saw the Phanatic work and saw all the positivity wake that was left by him. So for me, the Phanatic was just a constant. And then, what happens, your brain adapts to how good or bad your life is. It's called hedonic adaptation. And I had adapted to this beautiful, wonderful life. And then my mother gets ill and in just a very quick 8 months, succumbs to brain cancer. And just shortly after my mom passed away, my marriage fell apart and I had a young son. Now there's a lot of detail to all of that, but just to say I got boom, boom, boom with the brutality of life after leading just the most idyllic, perfect life you can imagine. And I was certain I wasn't going to survive it. I went to the Phillies and talked about quitting. But it was right during that time period that when the few appearances that I made before the Phillies were willing to, clear my schedule, I started to realize that when I got done, as bad as I had felt, digging myself in over to those appearances, putting on what I called my super suit, becoming the Phanatic for a few minutes, I got out and said, oh my gosh, this is the medicine that I need, because I started to be lifted out of hopelessness. And when you're in hopelessness, Kevin, the psychiatry of it is that's when those bad decisions are made. I just want the pain to end. And folks who have overcome the thought of committing suicide, or what they like to say, deciding to take their lives, that once they get a tick above hopelessness, they don't think about that as much. And that's what really happened to me. So I was really hopeless for about a month. And when I started coming out of it, each time I did the Phanatic, I went, oh, I need more of this. I don't need less of this. And it wasn't until about 25 years later that I actually realized this is what positive psychology teaches, that when you're at your worst is when you need to invest in something that is going to distract you from that. That's why baseball, golf, sports, just, the person that makes you smile all the time, meditation, the trying to be kind to others so that you stop being concerned about how much you're suffering. I mean, all of it's counterintuitive stuff, but once you get it, and I had it forced on me, it's like, you get all the happy hormones. I say, if you want to do the best drugs in the world for free and they don't do anything but make you better, then be kind, because it releases all the happy hormones in your brain. And nothing can be more powerful than dopamine and serotonin delivered in the natural way it was supposed to with a healthy brain.
It's interesting. It costs nothing to be kind. Nelly Korda, the number one female golfer in the world, after she played in the Women's British Open, was wearing a shirt that says it costs nothing to be nice. I think that says a lot, and she's a nice person. I know that. And you talked about the responsibility of creating your own happiness, not just for you, but also for others around you, because a mood and happiness is contagious, just as negativity can be. If you're that negative person, it's like you are imposing on everybody else around you. So not just to enjoy life more, but to show that that you have interests other than your own in trying to lift people around you. We're getting toward the end here, Dave, and I've enjoyed our conversation immensely. And I will say, in losing your mother, I lost my mother at a young age too. I think we were about the same age to brain cancer as well. So sadly, that's a club that we're in, the golf club, the entertainment, the TV stuff and everything, but losing our mothers early, and that's tough. That is really tough.
I appreciate you sharing that. This is, the idea of being vulnerable too is something that, friends, real friends, as Dr. Brooks calls them, useless friends that you get together because you just feel good. That is where that sharing is so helpful. And I hope everybody hears that when you're feeling bad, you got to find somebody you can share it with.
Well, there's strength in showing your vulnerability. If you show me real men don't cry, hell, that what a bunch of bullshit. If you have the courage to cry in front of other people, then you got a pair on you, and you're my kind of guy, because no man feels good when they're doing it, but it just shows how much they care about things. And eventually the tide's going to turn and their happiness is going to be every bit the opposite of the depression and just the pain of being forced to cry. But your company is all about happiness. You've created 130 plus different characters. It all started with the Phanatic, or that was your jumping in point. But I want to ask you about Gritty, the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, this thing, talk about a phenomenal thing. I mean, in some of the bad days, and the Flyers are turning it around, they were going more for Gritty than for the games. Now, tell me this, is if Gritty played golf, would a Happy Gilmore movie break out?
That is a great comment. I love it. It makes me laugh when you say that now, because all I do is go to Adam Sandler and seeing all of this histrionics in that movie. But I think Gritty was supposed to be for children by children, and the Flyers just did an amazing job of following a process that I gave them and told them whatever you do with it is going to be yours. I was a little nervous because I thought it looked like a Stephen King monster that was going to eat children. Not entertain him. But man, oh man, if he was on the golf course, I'll tell you what, the last people will be thinking about is golf. That's for sure.
He'd be just pounding away on people and just up to all sorts of mischief and everything else. All right, Dave, final question here. What would your life be like without golf? I mean, how profound a role has it played over the years, and do you expect it to into the future?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's impossible to calculate, what it's done for me. I mean, if you just go to the fact that I became good friends with my father because of it, and life with your parents is not always the most perfect relationship throughout your growing up. And golf was the reason for that. Also, my brother and I I feel bad that my sister didn't play golf, because to a certain extent she got left out of that a little bit. But it is a life sport that you can play with a handicap that allows you to compete with everybody. And, you can play golf virtually anywhere in the country. You can rent clubs. You don't need to, drag your clubs around. I just can't imagine really what my life would be without it, because of the mental health of it, but how many people it's brought me together with. We're lucky to have it. And I'm thrilled that you're promoting this through this work, because it's great to be able to connect with it and connect with those who love it like I do.
Dave, we got to play some golf. What do you say?
I'm in. Look, you got to batten down the hatches, keep everything together. And then when you come out, we'll go down there and we'll help fix up a golf course. Then we'll go play it. How's that?
Oh, that sounds good. Dave Raymond has been our guest here on Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks and the Golf Real Estate Pros in the greater Sarasota area of Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro, suncoastdreams.com. Dave, wish you nothing but success with the book and the entertainment company, and just keep on living what you're preaching. I know you are. Happiness is something you got to work on. Have fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun, and because you could still get a lot of work done when you're having fun. The power of fun. I can't recommend it enough. For Dave Raymond, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
This is Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh with the suncoastdreams.com real estate team at Fine Properties. We've helped hundreds of families find their dream homes in golf and resort communities in Lakewood Ranch, Bradenton, Sarasota, Parrish, Venice, and the surrounding areas.
Let us be your guides to finding your dream home here as well. Learn more at suncoastdreams.com or call us at 941-220-4000.